Hi everyone. So today I'm going to discuss about Cucumber keywords in Karate API framework. So most of the people which we worked on like Cucumber Gherkin syntax and how this Gherkin syntax Cucumber is customized in this particular Karate frameworks. So usually like if you are already worked on like Cucumber Selenium and in Cucumber. So if you have a film like if you have already worked on if you already worked on that, so it is a pretty simple, but pretty simple about the custom karate enhancement for the API testing because in this karate API framework, so which they use that Cucumber keywords used in this particular karate framework specifically for usage of API testing. So I'll give some set of I will explain the keywords like what are the keywords, Kumbar keywords, how they have been customized in that karate framework, and what is the objective, how do we use that keyword, and what is the scope of the keyword. So in detail, I will explain, and also I will automate one Get API in this particular session. Okay. Yeah, let's quickly jump onto this particular session. So the very first one, as you know, we have a like a first keyword is called a future. So a future is the first level of kind of keyword, or we can say that which feature can define a test features, or it is a structure which will start from the feature file, and in a simple word, we can say that which will define the main test suite or functionality. So we can describe that what exactly that functionality. So which means we will make a keyword called features in the top of the dot feature file. So here you can see the one of the example feature column API testing. Here also you see that feature column API. Yeah, feature feature is a keyword and which will define that or which will describe about the main test suite or a functionality about the feature. And here, how do we define here is feature colon and provide that API testing with Karate. So this is one of the feature name. Next keyword is background. So it is a very important keyword and it reduces the duplications and also we can define a common steps. Suppose there is a kind of such scenarios, so we need to use like base URLs or some other kind of like environment related web URLs or parameters where we can define, and also it should be carry forward to each and every scenarios. So which means there is a scenarios which require a base URL. There are some set of scenarios which require a base URL, right? So if you write every scenario level, so the code is duplicate. So instead of that, what we can do is we can define as a background as a common step to the each each scenario, and when you execute that particular any scenario, the common step will be executed and define or derive the values. So to do that, we will define a feature colon simple feature API testing, and background will mention that given is a keyword. So I'll detail explain, and URL is URL base URL. So .com till .com we call it base URL. Okay. The next keyword is scenario. So what is scenario? Scenario is a kind of simple. It is an individual test case. Okay. So how to define a scenario? Scenario, and we can define the get user detail. So get user detail is a kind of one single test case, single API test case. Okay, single API test case. So what it has? So it has only that which will get that user data based on that given endpoint. So next thing is given method is get, and there is a status code 200. Okay, so this is for scenario. Scenario is a a single represent a single test case, define a single test case in the feature file. So which means we can add in the feature file scenarios, multiple scenarios, one, two, three, four, something like that. Okay, so before the keyword, right? Then this before what is the keyword? Background keyword. So this background keyword which can execute or which can common to the number of scenarios you define in your future file. So that is what it is. Okay, the next keyword is a scenario outline keyword. So what does mean scenario outline is? So what is the difference between the scenario and scenario outline is? There is a difference. The syntax level difference I'll tell you first is, so here is a scenario colon and define your test case name or scenario name. Okay, that is the first thing. And coming to the scenario outline, so in scenario outline you can see that there is a scenario outline keyword, scenario and outline colon. And whenever you have any feature file contains scenario outline, and after that you can it should be followed with the example. Okay, there is a example followed by example colon, and here we can define our test data. So the first one is first one is a kind of header of the table. It is look like a table representation. So this is a one column data. So the first one is a header part and so headers and these are the columns. Okay, and we can call it the row one, row two, row three. So in the first row, which is a header, right? And the columns also, we have a column one, column two. If we have multiple sets of data also, we can pass or we can pass to the test case. So runtime, when it execute, right, the scenario outline will look for the particular example and the example in the example column, which will be presented or mapped to the particular test data where in the runtime, like while running the first row data will come. And if you run the second row sets of data will be passed in a dynamically. So this is called scenario outline. The next keyword is, yeah. So now you see that these are the keywords. Now we are going to discuss about the step definitions. Step definition in the sense, so there is a, we saw in the scenario, we have a three keywords basically here, given, okay, when, and then. And there is also and. So these are the step level keywords. So right now what we had, so we had a like future, scenario, and the scenario outline. So we are discussing in the within the scenario and scenario definition, the scenario outline, we will represent some keywords. Cucumber keywords are given, when, then. So what is a given keyword purpose and when to use or in the karate API? Let's see that. Okay. So now coming to that in the API karate API, so there are first one is like given. Okay. So this given keyword which will use for set up your API request. Generally in the API, right? In the API standpoint, API which will have some kind of base URLs, okay, and there would be a headers. Okay, there is a header and there would be a request body. So there are primary things. So this is for API request. So we call as a API request, and also we have a like kind of parameters also that we can discuss later. Okay. So next thing is every API which will have a response. So our response also contain headers. Okay, response also contain headers. Okay, so and also contain response body. Okay, response body, and there would be a status code. Okay, status code will be there. Status code, and messages, status message or whatever. Okay, so every API which will contain these are the standard parameters. So it may have some kind of authorization also there. Okay, there are some authorization techniques that we have. OAuth techniques on those things will be there. Okay, so primarily these are the API request level, request level setups. So when you form or when you send a API to the, whether it is a get API, whether it is a post API, or whether it is a put API, we have to form some certain request base URL, endpoint URL, and if at all any we have any headers, we need to set up. You want to have an endpoint dynamic or pre-dynamic parameters. If you want to add, you can add it. If it is a post method or put method, we need to represent or we need to pass a request body. Okay, if at all any authorization is there, we need to provide the authorization that would be base authorization or OAuth authorization, which we need to pass the token sometimes, right? So after passing that, we should get the response. Okay, response also which will contain headers, set of headers we can have, and response body. Response body also we have, and there would be status code. So these are the primary things. So based on that, so what is the purpose? What is the purpose of this keyword? Cucumber keyword is defined in the karate framework. So in the given, you see that given is a keyword. So what it does, it is basically it will set up a API request. So API request which will contain these things. What are these things is which can be base URL. Okay, so by using given, we can declare a base URL, we can declare a header, we can declare a response body, we can declare a path variable. So which means, so here you can see the one example is given, and also I'll also explain that while writing our actual code. Here you can see given. Given is a URL. Okay, given is a URL, and this is my API endpoint URL. So like that. So now the next keyword is a when keyword. So when keyword is send the API request. So when we use when is a send, when for sending the API response to the server. So this is the one thing, very important one. So and it, what type of methods, okay, what type of method which will handle here is, so it can handle as I told, right? So there are API methods which will have API method. Generally we have get method, so get method, and post method, and put method, and delete method. So I will explain in detail in the next session, but as of now, so there are get methods and post method, put method. So what and all in each and every I will explain in detail, and differences at all. Okay, yeah. So now you can see that example given is a keyword meant for sending a method, setting a method get mean, which means when method get in the sense this above request, a method is get and it's a request to the server, something like. Okay. So that is what now let's move on to the then. Then is basically meant for, okay, then is basically meant for assertions and validations. So assertions is, what is the assertion? So once we requested to the once we call this API, we should get the response. Okay, we should get the response. As I told you, API response also, which will contain header, body, and status code. So I want to validate my status code after return the response. Okay, so how do we do that? So by using the then keyword. So then keyword which will check that status code and content. Content in the sense content type or base body as well. Okay, so to do that we used to use like then is a keyword and status equal to 200. So after calling the API, the response is sent successfully, which will get to 200. And also, not only this one, we also can match. There are some kind of libraries we have a match and parse the response data also. The content, response content, or response body content also we can compare here. So I'll go detail in the next session. But this then is basically assertion and validation purpose we can use it. Okay, and so there are another keywords like and but. These are the additional steps. If you use if you have a multiple condition you want to check. Okay, so if you have a multiple conditionals you want to based on our story success criteria. Okay, yes. Now let me clear this one. Yeah, let me clear this one. So yes, I cleared it. Now let's see that. So yeah, so now you can see that the sample API here. Okay, so additional uh, yeah. So now, yeah. So now the next one is additional karate specific enhancement. Enhancement in the sense just added some capabilities. Okay, added some capabilities. So as I told you, so till now we did not know that what is a request. So this what is meant by request here is so your response body, okay, when you are pass a response body, okay, request is nothing defined for sending a response body or forming the take. So basically, the request which will take away the response body, basically it meant for that. Okay, so now we can see that given response, sorry, given request of response or request body, and when the method is a post, okay, when the method is post is called, then automatically we'll get the 201. Okay, 201. So that is what it is. Now let's as I told you, right, there are some another keyword which we call set header. So define for customize the header. So basically a barrier token means so our separate API will return this something tokenization based on the security purpose. We have a header section that is the authorization. So this is a custom header, right? So we can also pass the custom header by setting the header given header authorization. So the format of the header is barrier space some number, right? Next, there is a one more and mostly used keyword is called as a def. So what is mean by this one is it is a defining a variable. So whether it can be before the request or after the request response. So basically the response data we can reuse in the next API. So we can extract the response data and store in a local variable that is called diff user ID in the Karate framework. Right? Yes. Now, there is a one more feature or one more keyword, the last keyword which we are going to discuss today. That is a call. So, what is meant by call? Call is a keyword, so which can call a uh, which can call a one entire feature file. So the feature file is defined for some generating a token. So that logic of the feature file, we want to reuse some other API for chaining of APIs we need to call. So that time, so we are using the already developed and written type of will be given by the token, barrier token, something kind of thing. We are using another API. How to use? There is a call keyword, read, and that feature file name. Get token dot feature file, the feature file of the particular scenario which will be executed and return that token. So this token which can be used in the current or a future scenario, something like that. Okay. So this is about the keyword level in detail. So let's do some practical uh, knowledge on the writing a one get API. So then we come to know that. Okay, let's jump on to and we can write a one example of karate API. Now let me create a one package. So here under let me create a package is karate example and we can create a one API. What is the file name, right? So we need to add a file name. And let me, before writing the code, which can describe what API we are going to, or which API we are going to automate. So let me go to the URL, and here you can see that RS, RS, RSRQ, right? RQRS. So this is like open source one. So our RQRS is the open source dummy or like sample APIs. Okay. So here you can see that a lot of APIs here. So let me take this API list of user or single user. So let's take the single user. And so suppose if you want to get URL, you just click on the tab, next tab, you will get the response. So this is the base URL. So I'll take the base URL and type it. So what is the API name? We are going to do single user API. It is a get type. So I'll write that my API name as a feature name. So single user API dot feature file. So as I told you, so what is the first keyword in that feature file? It is a feature. Okay, feature colon. So we can define that. Okay, what is the define? Single user. Okay, single user. What is the single user info? Okay, get single user info. Okay, so get single user information API. Okay, so now I'm going to write a one background. Okay, so what is the background? I'll tell you that. So now let me write a background. So background, as I told you, background is a pre. What is that? So background dot my URL. So I can provide that URL background dot URL. So every API which will be executed. Now, what is a star in the sense? It will be execute for all the scenarios. Let me write a scenario, then we can come to single. So scenario name is get single user information. Okay, get single user information. So now here I can write that. Okay, so given path. So as I told you, right, given. What is the purpose of the given path? Let me write a given path. So first we can discuss that. This is my URL. Okay. So this is my URL. So this is till now we have a till now we have a yeah. So this is a base URL. So let me define that. So this is a base URL and it is a path URL. Okay. So what I have done is, so I categorized. So or it is a base URL, or we can call it a URL. Okay, in a particular Karate framework. So the next second one is my endpoint. So my API endpoint is API user. Suppose I want to like the API user endpoint. So API endpoint is API user, right? API user /2. I want to get the second user information. So now I have divided this one, and so if I write another scenario, okay, my URL will be same. Maybe my endpoint will be changed, right? So that is the case. Yeah, I have written the background and it is a URL and defined it. So if I tell it will be executed, background which will be executed for every scenario. So before the given step, this background URL will be defined and append with a path URL. And what is the path URL here? I can place, this is my path URL. Okay. So API user /2 second API. Now, next one is when. When is what is the when? When is the purpose of sending the response? Method type. You can define the method type is a get. When method, my API method is a get. So this when method which will take which will send to the request to the server or which will call the API basically in terms of API calling or execute. Okay, this when method get. So we are defining the get method and we can call the method. Okay, calling the method by using when get method. So once the method is called, the get URL will be called. So we'll get the response. That response which will be by adding evaluating by then keyword followed by a keyword called status. If it is a 200, right? 200. So now in general, cucumber. Okay, suppose Java Selenium cucumber. Okay, or a rest assured cucumber. So every scenario or every step we call it a step given when then steps. So every given when then step for cucumber selenium or cucumber rest assured, we have a step definition. But here in the karate framework, see that eh, uh, we cannot see the step definition. So that is a big difference. Okay, if you are familiar with the cucumber gherkin, the big difference here is that you do not you don't need to write what we don't want to write. So exactly we have a glue code or a Java step definition. So because the karate framework guys are already taking care that the definitions. Okay, so to do that we can leverage our Java skills. So if you know the basic stuff, we can able to write our API test automation. So as I see, there is a sample API also here given. So whatever we have discussed, all the keywords are there. And also forgot to tell you, so this is a karate lab, github.io karate. So all the documentation and examples will be here. Okay, and you can see that this is a detailed explanation. Let me recap here. So now the scenario. So what is the scenario here? Return. So here is a create and retrieve a cat. Okay, and started the step keyword given, and the URL is this is the URL. And now we can see that yeah, and which means it is a given only, followed by and is given and request, and we have a JSON response body. Okay, and when method it is a post method. After calling the post method, what we should do get? We get a 201 in the status. Then we are verifying the 201. So you want to validate the payload assertions, response assertion also we can do it based on the matches. Okay, match is a which we call as a validator or match validator is a library is there. So we can validate the response values in runtime or by using the matches. Match the response equal to the format of the response. Now you can also call the followed by another API given. So response ID a path. So above response ID taken to the another method called as a get method as a path variable. So get method is get and also okay. So which will return 200. So that is the way which will be validated. Okay. So now the big difference is, so we no need to write a Java definition for the cucumber step because it was already taken care by the Karate API. Okay, yes. Now let's clear these things and go back to the code. Yeah. So now let me run this one. So let me run. So how do we run? So to run, we need to create a one Karate Java file, runner file. So which we call as runner file. So let me copy the existing one and I will explain the things here. Okay, so here class name is single user API, single user runner. So every feature we have a one runner. Okay, let me open this one. So basically this runner file, okay, run all the tests in the features simply. Okay, so what we need to do, it is a intent to library like Java and class name you can provide anything. Here that, so we need to import the karate test. So it is a karate test and karate test user and returns the karate dot run and you can provide your feature file name. So what is my feature file name is single user API and get the relative path of the current class. Okay, so then automatically it will run. So this is the run command to fetch by running all the features on the test. Suppose if you have 10 features, we can. So we can also filter that part. I will cover in the later point of time with upcoming sessions. Yes. Now let's see that. Yeah, it is executing. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it executed. So now you can see that. So get user user information. Yeah, get user host is called. Okay. So like that. So let me go and pass it here. 200. Okay. Okay. Suppose if I change to 400. Okay. So this time what will happen and what we can see the result. So now let me run this again. Now this time, usually this API will return 200, but I updated to 400. So it will validate and check and make the fail. Yes. Now you can see that. Yeah, it got cross mark, which is failed. And coming to downstream, yes. Now you can see one scenario. Okay, scenario is failed. Okay, our class feature file name class path is this one. We have executed the single user API.feature file, and here we have a version of the Canado version, and here the scenario is one and passed 0, failed 1. So why it is failed? So here it will be written in the third line, not matching of 200, which we got it 200, but we have defined that value is to 400. So this is incorrect, right? So this is the way we can able to write. Suppose I want to write a one more scenario. Okay, I can also write invalid cases. So let me change back to 200. Yeah. So now let me run some kind of blank value. Blank value in the sense, suppose hash special character. Okay. So instead of two, I'm giving a special character. So providing special negative case with special catch. Let's see that result, how what will come, right? So now this time, how many scenarios we have? We have two scenarios, right? One is positive scenarios, second one is negative scenario. And every scenario, the common step is background step, which will append further by calling the path, appending with the URL plus path. That is a complete request API URL, and we are calling the get method. So once we get the method is called, there would be checking for the responses. Similarly, here also special character we are passing instead of two. So what we will get, we can see. I'm expecting two to 400. Let's see that. So if I want to run, we can run it from here. So then, so this time we can see that one scenario we pass, another scenario is failed. Okay, there are two scenarios which will be executed. Yeah, here you can see that. So get user information is ticked fast and get user information into scenarios is providing a special characters. And also we have a good reporting. So that also I'll take care about in the next separate video about the reporting structure and configuration details. Okay. Yeah. So that's all about that. So basically you need to follow the what kind of keywords. So just these, let me summarize that. So these are the keywords like future, which will be defining your API test suite name or specific functionality. Scenario is as defined as your single test case. Okay, and scenario outline which can enable for data-driven testing, and background keyword which can be used for defining a common step, base URL, and any property setups, environment details also we can send it. Okay, given is a step for the feature file, setting a API request which can contain or which can define request URL header body, and when is execute. Okay, when step is used for, or when keyword is executes, the API methods get, post, get, delete, right? Yeah, then is validate the response body, whether it is a status code or body, and button and keywords are, if you have any multiple condition to be validated, you can do it. Okay, and the request is the predefined keyword, send the request payload, and a header which can add your head customized header, and define is store the response data as a local variable, and call is a keyword which can call another API script which can be reusability purpose, which can be reused by calling the existing feature file into another feature file. We can take the output of the particular API. So that time we don't need to write again and again. So we can call by using call keyword function. Okay. So that's all about this session. Please practice and make sure. Thank you all.